Up next, we have Regirock with Earthquake under the lights and a really stupid ad that I want to get rid of. Here it is. All right. Once again, under the lights, Earthquake, Regirock. Hello again, fellow PvPers. Time for a quick PvP analysis. We got several articles queued up waiting to be done, so let's not beat around the bush. Already examined Reggie Ice with Thunder, and I was planning to lump Regirock and Registeel with their new exclusive moves into one article, but there's so much to say about Registeel especially, and Regirock has already arrived. So, going to keep this simple and just look at Regirock today, and we'll save the insanity of Zap Cannon Registeel for a later follow-up. Very excited for that. Already running late with a few of these major computer issues this afternoon, so here we go! Alright. Regirock stats and moves. Regirock's attack is going to be 104, defense 180, HP 115 in the Great League. Ultra League, attack 134, defense 237, HP 146. Master League, attack 153, defense 256, HP 162. Bulk is the name of the game with Regis, and Rock is no different, so let's take a second on the typing. As with Registeel, Regirock is unfortunately weak to fighting and ground damage, but while Registeel resists grass and steel damage, Regirock is vulnerable to both and water as well. Registeel has only one additional weakness, fire, which is among Regirock's much shorter resistance list, fire, flying, normal, poison. Other than fire, Registeel's resists all of those two, plus bug, dragon, ice, fairy, psychic, and rock. It's not just that Registeel has higher defense and HP than Regirock that makes it feel so much tankier. It's the boatload of resistances to come with. More on that in a bit, but first let's bring the moves into the discussion. First are the fast moves. We have Lock On, which is a normal type. We have Rock Throw, which is rock typing, and Rock Smash, which is fighting. I mean, it's a Regi. Is there any question? It's Lock On all the way. The charge moves basically necessitate it. Here are the charge moves. We have Stone Edge, which is rock, Earthquake now, which is ground, which does 120 damage with 65 energy, Focus Blast, which is fighting, and Zap Cannon, which is electric. All right, now let's crunch those numbers. Great League. So, no, you unfortunately cannot get a new Regirock with exclusive move under 1500 CP. The only way to get one for Great League is at the research level 15, and that was available only once, multiple years ago, at a time when all three Regis were the research breakthrough reward. Remember when we actually got legendaries as rewards? Oh, how little we appreciated it then. Because all three were in the same pool, it was entirely possible to hit all the breakthroughs you could during that time and still not find a Regirock. I myself found 3 Registeel, as I recall, and a Regi Ice or 2 Gur. All that to say, even having a sub 1500 Regirock is rare enough. If you want to go the extra step and get an exclusive move, you have to invest in Elite TM. So with all that said, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that you may be able to save Elite TM, but the bad news is that the exclusive move seems to be an overall downgrade in Great League. Currently, Regirock is rather underrated in Great League, probably at least in part because of its rarity. It actually has a record better than that of most of the more heralded Registeel. There are more similarities between them than differences, but here are the big things to note about them in the side-by-side. Registeel has several more resistances, with steel being the best pure defensive typing in the game. Between that and even greater bulk than Regirock, about 10 more defense and 15 more HP, Registeel can uniquely outlast Azumarill without Hydro Pump, at least Scrafty, Whaleren, Venusaur, Cresselia, and Lickitung. Those last three especially are primarily due to resisting grass damage, Frenzy Plant, and then Grass Knot, Power Whip from Cresselia and Licky, whereas Regirock takes super effective damage from grass. Regirock's advantage is in its speed. Stone Edge is the fastest charge move of any of Regi's having in go right now, being 10 energy cheaper than Regi Ice's Earthquake, Regi's Earthquake, 5 energy cheaper than even its own exclusive move Thunder, and at least 15 energy cheaper than anything Registeel has to offer. So while it can't handle the grass damage I mentioned with Registeel and loses to Azumarill no matter what charge move it's using due to it being weak to water, Regirock is uniquely capable of outracing Coffergigas, Vigoroth, and Shadow Hypno. And the awesome super effectiveness profile of rock damage allows Regirock to also beat down Galvantula, Alolan Marowak, Drifblim, and Talonflame, none of which Registeel can typically handle. Not bad, right? Now, all of that is with existing moves. Stone Edge is a must, and the second move alongside it is the same closer Registeel employs today, Focus Blast. Regirock's Stone Edge is a good widespread coverage, and it is resisted by two of its mortal enemies, Steels and Grounds, the later of which also deals super effective damage to Regirock in return. Focus Blast helps cover Regirock's back by hitting ground for big neutral damage and steals for big super effective damage. Between Stone Edge and Focus Blast, Regirock is able to hit 8 types for significant effective damage, and even better, there's not a single typing in the game that Regirock with whatever cannot hit for at least neutral damage. This is why, even though Zap Cannon looks ready to turn Registeel into an Eldritch Horror once again soon, it is not a preferred move on Regirock, despite being there since day one. Simply put, it just doesn't fit on Regirock. It hits water types nicely, but it's extra resisted by troublesome grasses and double resisted by grounds, leaving Regirock pretty defenseless in many key spots. The dip in performance isn't awful, since it does pick up some anti-water winds to compensate, but it loses any ability to meaningfully threaten Umbreon, Obstagoon, Vigoroth, and Ferrothorn, like it can beat with Focus Blast. And now we can come to the new exclusive move, Earthquake. In some ways, the coverage that comes with it looks pretty good, but resisted by bugs and flyers, both of which Stone Edge handles easily anyways, and the only blight being that it is resisted by grasses, and it does hit steals super effectively and faster than Focus Blast does, so that's another positive. And yet, it comes out looking no better than Zap Cannon. What's going on? Well, put simply, a lot of these things that escape with Zap still escape with Quake, meaning Dark types, Umbreon and Obstagoon, and also Vigoroth and Ferrothorn. Earthquake does bring in a key win over Shadow Nidoqueen, which is no small thing these days, but while it has a nice enough coverage profile, it doesn't actually bring in any notable wins beyond that, and the new losses overshadow that. Even with shields down, this remains mostly true, with Focus Blast continuing to beat Obstagoon, Vigoroth, Ferrothorn, plus now Scrafty and Lickitung, while Earthquake contributes only Nidoqueen, Toxicroak, and Stunfisk. Not bad wins, just not as many as you'd hope for, and yes, the margins are similar in 2 versus 2 shielding and Focus Blast advantages. I did check. End of the day, Earthquake isn't a bad move, and if you're worried about stuff like Nidoqueen, it makes sense to consider it. But in general, I think you just want Focus Blast more and more often. The coverage is a bit better, and the impacts are too. I personally would not use an Elite TM on Great League Regirock unless I somehow had multiple good ones under 15 CP, and there's no rush to go out and do it even then. IMO, how about moving up in leagues? Alright, so let's take a look at the Ultra League. We're going to look down here. Let's see. So once again, while Earthquake is perhaps the most viable side grade it is to existing moves, it clearly doesn't leave Focus Blast behind by any means. I would say it's still advantage Blast overall in Ultra League, but since you don't have to burn Elite TMs to get an Ultra League specimen with Earthquake, sure, look for a good one. You can get one with raid level IVs that works without having to trade too. Okay, so it's really something you want to do. Now let's take a look at Master League. I'll keep this one quick. Master League Regirock is viable, but on the fringe, and to my eyes, Earthquake looks even a tad worse, losing to Snorlax, Mamoswine, and perhaps most damningly, the super popular Excadrill, with no notable gains other than turning the already win over Heatran, which you'd win anyways. Regirock isn't for everyone in Master League, requiring a pretty special build to work out, but if you use it, it's unlikely you'll want Earthquake rather than Focus Blast. In today's meta, at least, should you happen to find a hundo, hold on to it, but I don't know if I'd dump resources into building it personally. If you really want a Regi in Master, I think that the underrated Regi Ice is the way to go, but also without its exclusive move. Alright, so let's sum it up. In all leagues, Earthquake is, at best, a side grade option to Regirock's Focus Blast, alongside the must-have Stone Edge that makes Regirock a threat in the first place. It beats stuff like Nidoqueen and situationally Stunfisk, and the odd poison type here and there. but overall Focus Blast reigns supreme with a larger number of dark, normal, and even steel wins to its credit. Wouldn't bother Elite TMing Earthquake onto Regirock in the Great League. It's not useful. You can make an argument for Earthquake in the Ultra League, but it's really only shines with shields removed. Regirock in Master League, maybe, but some players have been able to make it work, but I think Earthquake is more of a downgrade. So, let me know. What do you think? Do you have an Earthquake with Regirock? Have you tried it out? Do you plan to? I don't think I'm going to based on this article.